welcome to Product Tank Lagos. Good to have you here. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join. And happy World Product Day, everyone. Thank you again for joining. So I will introduce Mind the Products as is our usual, and then Product Tank Lagos. Then I'll introduce the speakers. They will go through their sessions, and we'll have a quick question and answer right after each session. And then we'll do a general question and answer for both sessions, and then we wrap up and close. So for the regulars who are always here with us, you know what Mind the Product is and Product Tank, but I'll just quickly give you an insight into it. Mind the Product started because we had like minds who were in this role, and they were like, no, we're not project managers, we're not business analysts. What exactly is it that we're doing, and how can we help other people with either the struggles they're having or their successes or their failures? Just come together and have like a place where we can all feel at home. And then after they had come together and done this, they said, okay, how then do we expand into other cities across the world? And so Lagos is right there. We started in 2017. We've tried to do 4 meetups every year, and we have our amazing over 3,800 members being there with us every step of the journey, engaging with our posts and being here every time when we say there's a meetup. So I would introduce our first speaker. But before we do that, so we did this meet the product managers on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and we want you to share with us in the comment section as well. So 3 basic questions. How did you get into product management? What were your first wins? What was something you wish that someone who was already in product had told you before you joined? And we just want you to keep that conversation going. I would also share while the speaker sessions are going on, just so that you're encouraged that it's not like I'm not sharing. I will share, and then every other person can share as well. So how can you get involved with Mind the Products and Product Tank? You can speak at Product Tank. You can send us an email at producttankLagos@gmail.com. You can volunteer to speak as well, or you can volunteer to help us organize these amazing sessions, help us with social media, and help us put more articles there that will help other product managers in Lagos. You can also write for Mind the Product. It's easy. Just go to mindtheproduct.com, become a member. There's super great articles that will help you with your day-to-day as a product manager. Cool. Okay, now let's start the stuff proper. So I know a lot of us have, we've either bought, those of you that are borrowing is bad behavior, buy your book. So we've either bought Inspired, Empowered, Loved, and we've all been gushing about how the team who put these things together are super awesome. So today I bring to you Christian Idiodi, who is a partner at Silicon Valley Product Group. Hi, Christian.
Hello, Zainab, nice to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. So I will just run Christian's quick bio, and then I will introduce the next speaker. So Christian has been a product leader for over 15 years. He's been building teams and developing enterprise and consumer products that have shipped companies such as Career Builder and Merrill Corporation, as well as clients such as Starbucks, CarMax, and Macy's. He's passionate about helping companies implement this discipline of product management to build world-class products and new technologies, and is always super supportive to local communities. I literally told him about this meetup like 2 seconds ago, and it's like, don't worry, I'll do it. It's Lagos, I'll do it for you. So thank you very much, Christian. And today it teaches product management and innovation at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. Welcome, Christian. I don't know if his internet is a preferred. Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wonderful.
So
wonderful. Well, good.
Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know if you were ready for me to go. I was just gonna thank everybody for taking the time. Happy World Product Day. But you tell me when you're queuing me up to get going.
Okay, sure. So today, the theme for World Product Day this year is Product First, and Christian will be speaking to us about discovering products. So I'll quickly introduce the next speaker, and then we'll come back. So Sinmi Akinsanmi is a founder at Longbridge, and Sinmi was very pivotal during our early days at Product Tank, helping us secure places to use. Today, you'll be speaking about the people side of productivity. Hi, Sinmi. You can unmute your mic so that you see. Hi.
Hi, Zainab. Hi, Christian. Good to have you. Thanks for having me here.
Yes. And Simi is, one of those OGs in Lagos whose product management career has spanned for over 10 years. He's done digital products in energy, power, he's done retail, he's literally done everything. So this guy is just like, okay, what else do you really want to do in this Lagos that we've not done for you people? What else do we want to do globally that we've not done? And he's always super happy to embrace opportunities. He approaches life with faith, confidence, and optimism. And again, Simi, he's one of those people that have been saying, Simi, come and talk at ProductTank Lagos now. Please honor us. But this time around, it's just like, oh, you guys, don't worry. I'm here for you. So thank you so, so much again, Simi, for giving us this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Zainab, and thanks to the entire team. Great thing you guys are doing here.
Cool, 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 cool. All right then. So Christian is going to start with this presentation now, and he will speak to us for about 10-15 minutes. Please, as I'm speaking, feel free to drop your questions. We're going to ask him right after for like another 3 to 5 minutes. For the questions we're not able to ask immediately, we will then move them after Simi's session. So we'll have more questions and more answers. So, all right then. Kristen, it's over to you now. We will see you in 15. Bye then.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you all for having me. Happy World Product Day. I'm glad to be here. I just met with Zainab and the team in Lagos a couple of weeks ago, but today I'm calling from a town called Seward, Alaska. It's at the very edge of the North American continent. So I'm glad that I could be doing this remotely. It's talking about the power of technology. I'm probably in one of the most remote places in the world with bears and moose. But it's an honor to do this and share. So I think what I wanted to do today, really talking about Product Fest, was to really try to highlight some things about my product journey. Maybe talk about my very first time I built a product, my very first discovery, my very first leadership role. And in some ways, hope that my career and my journey into product might actually help to inspire people along their journey. Next slide, Zainab. And so I want to kind of talk a little about my product journey. As you all can probably infer, I'm Nigerian. I was born in Nigeria. I went to Suleja Academy, which is kind of the gifted and talented kids program in Nigeria. I went to college in the States, in Atlanta, Georgia, at a college called Emory University. I was going to be a medical doctor, which I think it's no surprise to anyone from Africa. You're either going to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, and accountant. These were the positions in there. But I had this knack that I wanted to discover cures for malaria, cures for cancer, cures for HIV. And so I had a passion very early as a kid to solve problems. And so going to be a doctor was a very natural progression for me. And through all of my college career, I worked tutoring people, I delivered newspapers, I did computer programming, I worked at a gas station or a fueling station where I will help mop the floors and do all of those shows. I got exposed to traveling the world through a fellowship that I got in college that allowed me to explore other parts of my career that I didn't know I loved, like community building and nonprofit work too as well. But before starting medical school, I decided to just take a year off. I said, look, I'm going to go into medical school. All I'm going to be is a doctor, but I want to travel the world a little bit. I want to explore and learn about things. And so I decided to travel to Europe or Southeast Asia. I had a year of a break before starting medical school, and I got broke about 4 months into this year. I was stuck in Thailand, and I had to fly back to the States in the back of a UPS cargo plane. That's a very different story. But I arrived in San Francisco without any money or any means. I had spent all of the savings I had through college on my trips, and I still had a couple of months before starting medical school. So I said, well, what's the fastest way I can make money? And I started talking to people, and they said, well, you got to go into sales. There's a company, it's 100% commission. If you sell something on Monday, they will pay you commission by Friday. And so I actually started some form of work in door-to-door sales. And at this time, I was selling things like Visa, MasterCard. So there were companies that did not take credit cards, and I would go sell that to them. I was selling paper supplies to companies. I was selling what we would call back then telecom services, like sign up for a telephone service in your office place. And so my job at this point was to go door to door to every small business and to try to sell them on this. Now, I was in training for my very first month, walking around with people training me on how to sell, going from business to business every single day. And I lived in San Francisco back then, and it's filled of hills and valleys, and I'm on my feet, trekking, walking for hours every single day. Now, I lived with a friend from college, and I was sleeping on his couch in his place. And when I finished my first week of selling, my first month, I got a call from the CEO of the company. I thought I was getting fired from the job. And he says to me, he says, well, Christian, how many units do you think an average person in this company sells in a month? I said, I don't know. It's like they sell like 25 to 30 units. He said, do you know what you sold in your very first month? I think a little more than that. He said, you sold 113 units. He said, I want to know the secret to your success. And I said, I was broke and hungry. That's my secret. I mean, I realized that I needed to make $500 at the end of a week to actually survive, to pay some rent, and to save some money to buy a car, because I was dropped off in the morning at 8 a.m. I will walk all day for 8 hours, and I'll be picked up at 5 p.m. when my roommate comes back from work. And I said, I started to discover really clearly what I needed to do to hit this target. I realized that if I could go to 50 businesses a day, that I might find that, maybe about 25% of the decision makers may be in there, but that I needed to close 4 deals every single month or every single week to hit my target. So I designed a way that I could close a sales deal in 15 minutes or less. Now, the CEO was very intrigued by this. He said, well, tell me more. I said, well, I figured that, if I can go into a business and I can start a conversation and in 15 minutes I can convince you to buy, I'm able to talk to enough business and sell it. And I walked through the techniques I used. Now, I had discovered these techniques by trying to hit a target. If I can talk to people about other people doing things by themselves, it's called the Jones effect. If I can walk through indifference, walk through a sense of urgency, prompt people to take action. Now, the CEO was very fascinated by this and said, look, you are more valuable to me if you can train other people in my organization to work this way. And he said, well, I love this idea. I want you to write it down, and I want to buy this idea as part of our playbook. This was my very first time in my career, and I'm 21 years old, that I realized that people will actually pay you for the value of your ideas, its ability to improve lives or solve problems. And so he said, I will give you $3,000 if you can get this idea written down for me. And I gave it to him, and they created a patent for this idea. Now, if you've ever bought anything from a TV station, any part of the world, talk about selling things on TV, they use a patent that I created when I was 21 years old. And I sold it for $3,000. Now, this was my very first discovery exercise. I had discovered a problem that was near and dear to me, and I had created value in a way to solve it. So I spent a lot of my career now saying, why do I go back to medical school? Somebody paid me for an idea, and sales makes a lot of money. So I was doing sales and teaching people how to sell in this manner. One of the leaders I had hired and worked for me joined another company, which was an early startup back then in the job space. They were helping people find jobs. A meeting with the CEO of the company, and he said, look, you have a passion for education. I want to pay for you to get an MBA or a master's program. You don't owe me anything, but I want you to come and teach people how to sell this way in my company. And he said, look, I'll pay for your education, and I'll pay you the same salary you have. And I said, this is great. I will come back and do this. So I came back into this. I joined a new company called Career Builder, and I'm teaching people how to sell in this way. A few months into this, I learned that the company has a business plan competition. They called it Ideas from Everywhere. Anybody in the company could submit an idea. And if the company loves your idea, you will get $1 million to run the business. I said, wow, that's a great kind of competition. And this is done like American Idol style, or, America's Got Talent type of competition. Now, I didn't have an idea. I didn't know anything about the company, but I started to learn more about the competition. And they said, look, if you would make it to the top 20, you will get $5,000. You make it to the top 10, you will get, $10,000. You make it to the top 5. And I said, wow, I don't really have an idea, but I would love to make it to the top 20, because if you do not submit an idea, then you have no chance of even succeeding. A few weeks before the competition is over, I start talking to a lot of people. I spend time with customers, spend time with leaders, start to understand and learn about the business, immersing myself in the environment of the business and its customers and its data. A couple of days before the competition is over, I come up with an idea, I submit it to the competition. A few weeks later, I get an email. It tells me, you have been shortlisted to defend your idea. I said, okay. I come in, I talk about it, and they say, well, congratulations, you've made it to the top 20. And I said, this is great. I'm done. They said, no, you got to keep going. And I said, well, what does that mean? They said, well, you got to present to people. You got to keep up all around the stats of it and share your ideas with other people. Now, I go from the top 20 to the top 10 to accelerate our story. I'm in the top 5 of this. And then I win this competition. I am 23 years old with a check for $1 million to build a technology-based product. I mean, it was a business at this point that I had an idea for. Now I have no idea how to build things, how to create values. I just know how to generate good ideas and share them. I cry myself to my hotel room that night. I was terrified. I am young and I'm in a position now as the CEO of a startup with a check to build a company. I spend the next couple of months thinking about what I will do rather than doing anything. My first board meeting, they are laughing at me about, look, we can make more money if we put this in a bank than if we actually, than you sitting and watching the money. And so I start to say, well, what does it take to go from an idea to actually building a product from this? And I put my head down and I start to grind through the ideation, through the development, through working with people to create value. I grew that business to about $10 million in the next 18 months. Now, I'm like, this is really cool. As I'm doing this, I'm coming up with more ideas. So I submit another idea to the competition and I win again. And the CEO says to me, look, it's crazy that we have to wait for a competition for you to share all of your great ideas with me. Why don't you just manage our innovation budget? This was my very first introduction into any form of product management, any form of innovation management. There wasn't a formal discipline back then. None of this existed. And so the CEO said, look, if you have a good idea, just do it. We don't want to wait for a competition. Manage the competition. Let's go quicker because I don't want to wait yearly to get good ideas. Now, I failed woefully at the next 17 ideas I had. No matter how good I thought it was, how great I thought I was thinking through it, nobody went to the ideas anymore. I had success with my first 2 and then failure after failure. I couldn't sell it, I couldn't market it, I couldn't build it, delivery failure, execution failure, collaboration failure, adoption failure. And I started to say, why was I successful in my very first 2 and failing consequently? This is really the core of how I learned product management, because I started to realize some common patterns. The more I connected with customers, the more I connected with the business, the more I immersed myself in the data, the better my success. If I was closer to the people building things, the better my success. If I stopped making decisions from a conference room, the better my success. All of these things started to harden itself through it. Now, I took Career Builder to 14 different countries around the world. I built over 80 products, including the modern pattern for how people find jobs today with this organization. And after doing this, I said, well, this is great. I have been growing a company for over 8 years as leading innovation, building out the muscle for how you repeat success with building products. I've not had a single product failure since then. And we can talk more about that, but the mindset of discovering value, working closely with people, focused on outcomes and the customers were key in those tenets. I went on from there to start to teach product management at a local university. I decided to join a startup in the same space to kind of build product. I was head of product in there, so this was my first product leadership job. So if you're looking at my career, I kind of had my first discovery, creating a pattern for how people can sell a deal. I had my first product job, which everybody on this call, nobody went directly to school for this. I was going to be a doctor. And I kind of stumbled upon this because I love solving problems. I love collaborating with people, and I was focused on those outcomes. And so when I shifted to becoming a leader of product, my product was no longer building products. My product became people. My job was to create an organization where people could get good at creating value for other people, to create a clear vision and a strategy for an organization, to help an organization create meaningful value for its customers in a way that works for its business. And so I learned all of this really through a series of failures working with companies. And so I ended up joining another company as a leader of product, transforming the company from a legacy organization into a modern SaaS company. Throughout my career, I've had an amazing mentor and friend, Matty Kagan. He wrote the book Inspired. And he has used that really championing my career to say, look, you've got to come spend time teaching people how to build products well, teaching organizations how to work in this manner. And so I joined the Silicon Valley Product Group. There are 5 product partners around the world. We really spend our time together trying to help organizations understand how the best products are built, challenging them that they can work in a similar manner like the best companies in the world, whether it's Apple or Google or Amazon or Netflix, that they can solve problems in a meaningful way. And so I teach product teams, I teach product leaders, I teach executives really how to build products and create value in the best way companies work. So I am hoping kind of sharing some of my journey is inspiring enough to kind of say, the product journey itself and the first aspects of it are never a straight line. But more importantly, that the job is one that is super valuable because it's focused on creating value for others. Thank you all for making the time to do this and for sharing. Zainab, thanks for having me. Please feel free to get in touch. My contact information is on your screen. You can also follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take those now.
Cool. Thank you so much, Christian. I don't know if you guys are shy, but I can't see any questions. So please drop them, and so Christian is able to answer them. But I have one question. I thought you were going to address it, but I didn't hear. What is something you wish someone had told you before you got into product management? That's one big advice that would have been super helpful on the journey.
Well, I don't know if there's one or several. There's probably a lot through my career, and it depends on where you are along the journey. I think I do a talk about product being hard. It's also important for people to recognize it's not for everyone. I know it's one of those desirable positions in the world today because it's at the forefront of who is deciding what gets built, who is making a decision on those things, and it took a lot of. It got a lot of popularity in the 90s when people were giving companies money and saying, what am I giving you money for? And it's like, to build things. And they say, well, who's making a decision on what we're going to build? And it's like, well, it's a product person. And so lots of people want to be in this field and in this discipline. And unfortunately, people look at it as the barriers to entry in the field are not very defined. It's not like you have to go get a medical degree or a law certificate to be a product manager. You can I love working with people, but I need to be clear about the discipline. It is as rigorous as being a doctor. It is as rigorous as being a lawyer. It is as rigorous as being an engineer, right? And so what I tell people is it is an art and a science to do this discipline, and it's an important one. And I think there are a couple of things I tell people. People often ask me the question, how do I get started? I want to get the first product job. How do I get into product? And I always tell people, just start. There's no permission in this industry. And people need to come with this mindset, meaning at the core of the job is solving problems. Uniquely about it, you're solving problems with a team of people that are equipped to help you create value for your customers and your business. Go volunteer at a nonprofit. Build something in your local community. Go help somebody down the road. Work with your family to build a project, create something in your village, right, in your household. Because at the end of the day, you're going to use that same muscle in your job. And the difference between the best product managers and the ones that struggle in this space are the people that have practiced solving problems earlier in their career. So you've got to practice early and consistently. So I think one of the things I wish I had learned very early in my career was to actually take the discipline as seriously as I did trying to study to be a doctor or a lawyer and stuff. Because it's one that involves people, it's one that involves process tools, working with technology in a meaningful way. And if you could put your head down to really appreciating the value of the discipline, you'll be very successful.
Cool. So I think for me, one thing I would have appreciated someone telling me was that don't take feedback personally. So be it your stakeholders, you could have done this better, or those customers they will just come and say, I pressed this button, it's not working. I'm like, why are you doing that? But if someone had told me, don't take it personally, everyone is here so that this product can grow. Everyone was what's best for the business. Then maybe I could have just chilled just a
Yes.
little bit.
Yeah, the way I love it, I think Steve is like, if you want to make everybody happy,
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
in this job,
Exactly.
it's really not to make everybody happy. It's the job of solving problems. Yeah.
Cool. So Adela has a question. She says, how does or should a PM deal with product failure? Interesting.
Good. It's a good question, but it's a mindset question. It's an important one that we understand it. Is it failure or is it learning? Right? If your culture or your environment looks at it as failure, then it's what tends to happen. There tends to be consequences of failure in that way. It's like we failed. Rather than doing a retrospective of what we learned, we are doing a blame of how we failed, right? An analysis of how we failed. And we create process and things to prevent us from failing again. So what I tell people to do very quickly, if you have something that is considered a failure, is you do a retrospective. You pull your team together, and the whole goal of it is to talk about what we learned from it. And you want to share that very openly, right? If you like expected, 10,000 naira from something and you got 1,000 naira, you know what you learned? You learned how to make 1,000 naira. Now, the question is, if your goal was 10,000 naira, can you do what you did 10 times? Or is there a better solution to get to 10,000? Right? But if you look at the data, we did not make 9,000 naira, this is a big failure, then we don't actually get the value of what discovery is, how we solve problems, right? Those outcomes we want. So it's very important that, it's a mindset approach, that is it learning versus failure? And then there's also a cultural approach, which is it safe to talk about this in a manner that helps people get better?
Okay, thank you very much, Adela. I hope that has answered your question sufficiently. So I have another question so a lot of people are getting into product management now, or people who have gotten into it 3 years ago, they've done a lot of execution and they're like, okay, what's next? We have this amazing product leaders like Christian who are telling us that, you can do great things. But the only thing I do is I'll just wake up, I'll do Scrum in the morning, then I'll go fight with my QA engineer. Then I tell the designer, oh, you didn't put this bit here. Like, what else? What should I be looking forward to as I start my career as a product manager? What else is there for me?
Yeah, this is important, and I'm talking a lot more about this these days with kind of permission environments, right? You kind of feel like my job is to do a Scrum meeting with people, organize people, decide what to do, move this ticket from here to there, go into another meeting, and somebody is screaming at me for what feature they want, what they need, and I'm going to do. I'm going to break the unfortunate news to many people. This is not product management. I know it's hard to believe this, but this is not what the job is, because none of those things actually solve the problem. They just deliver upon solutions that have been decided or coming top down. This is what you need to understand. You don't need permission to think about new ways to solve old problems, new problems to solve, new markets, new customers, new industries. We are in an industry today where it's like the founders or the CEOs are the only ones that can come up with cool ideas of the things we get to do. But that doesn't scale, that doesn't repeat itself. Because what happens is as your company gets bigger, they cannot hold all of the best ideas actually come from the people that are closest to the technology. It comes from the team, it comes from the engineers. Your job really is to leverage the expertise of those engineers and the designers and other parts of your team, the data, to actually think about better ways to solve new problems. So what I tell people is you need to have an entrepreneurial mindset. to shift out of your daily routine of Scrum and process into if I were starting my own company and my company were my own little team today, you have 5 people or however many you have on your team. What should we be doing to improve the lives of our customers and our business, to grow our business? Unfortunately, we wait to be told what other people need that they think will actually improve those outcomes. We need to move to a mindset of being entrepreneurial in our job and creative in our approach to actually get different outcomes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I have a question here from Dave that is not very clear. How do individual software engineers who are starting out to build products incorporate product management into their processes?
Okay, so I think I may get some flavor of this. I'm guessing you're an engineer, and I don't know if you're talking about incorporating product managers or incorporating product management as a discipline. Now, if you think about what engineers are doing, they are deciding the best way we can build things, if we can build things, how to build those things, right? What we need to build those things in that way. Now, this allows us to make sure we can actually do things. But how do we know that this is the right thing to do? How do we know it's the best thing to do? How do we know that if we do it, people will buy it? If we do it, people will choose it. If we do it, people will use it. Just because somebody says they can use something doesn't mean that they will use it. Just because we can build something doesn't mean it's the best thing to build.
True.
Right? So the whole idea of product management is to help us determine what we build and ensure that what we build is valuable to our customers and viable, meaning it works for our business. So what I tell product engineers to do is go spend some time with customers. The discipline of product management is not just about what you create, but it's ensuring that what you create actually solves the problem for your customers in a way that makes you happy or makes you money. So if you're spending your time as an engineer with customers doing all of that work, then you don't have time to build things. So you need a product management partner whose job is to ensure that while you're thinking about the best way to do something, they're thinking about if this is what we should be doing. And they are validating and testing that with customers. You also need a design partner because you want to make sure that when we do it, we can get people will get the experience from what we do, that they can actually use it. So the whole modern job of solving problems involves a product manager, a product designer, and a product engineer. That's the modern job. They leverage a deep understanding of the customer, the data, the business, and the industry to create value for their customers and the business. Okay?
Thank you, Dev Sachs. I hope we've been able to answer your question adequately. So thank you, Christian. I will bring Sinmi up now, and we will see you in 15 minutes. Okay, so please. All right. Hi, Sinmi.
Hi, Zainab.
Thank you again for joining. I can't see slides yet. Are you able to share?
I'm trying to share my slides. Give me a second, please.
All right. Please, everyone, share your questions. I can see some. I will share them with Christina once we're done with Simi's session. Please also paste your question for Simi as well. And please share how you got into product management, what your first wins or what your biggest wins were, and what was something you wish someone had told you before you started. And just so that we can keep the conversation going. Okay.
It's uploading.
Okay, cool. While we wait for that, you can share your comments and questions as well with us on Twitter at ProductTank. You can use the hashtag ProductTankLagos and Product First, which is a theme for What Product Tank today. Also, if you want to volunteer to help organize these sessions, help with social media, or help bring other PMs into the field, please reach out to us. Always happy to have more helping hands. I think Simi, these are your slides now.
Yes, I'm up. Hi, guys. How's everyone doing? It's good to be here. Thanks, Zainab, Thanks everyone that has put this together. Um, I would like to start, by appreciating you guys for this very rare opportunity to share. One of the beauty of the world now is the level of infrastructure we have. I remember during my days, there was no opportunity like this. I mean, I was literally learning from a website called brighthelppm, .com. It was more of a project management platform. And there was no way to collaborate really remotely. So it was a tough job. But I think we are in a very, very, very lucky time now where it's easy for every one of us to sort of collaborate. So I will just talk about, the people side of productivity. But before I go right into that, let me just give a little bit of my own background as well. I have a background in computer science. I also wanted to be a doctor. For those that are in Nigeria, I wrote JAM 5 times because my dad wanted me to be a doctor. I finished secondary school at 15, and up to 1921, I was at home because I wanted to be a doctor. So out of frustration, I tried computing and I scored the cutoff math. So I started studying computer science. And known to me, life has a way of shaping what we eventually become. And I still regret not being a doctor up until 2009. I'd left university then. My dad was admitted in one of these government hospitals. And right there and then, I saw how hard doctors work. I saw, how they deal with a lot of mess in quotes. And I'm like, God, thank you, I'm not a doctor. And that was when I gave up the dream finally, because I still felt that somehow down the line, I could be a doctor. So I forayed into programming, wrote a couple of codes, started with Java, very difficult to learn. There was no YouTube, there was no 4G internet, there was no Udemy, there was no Coursera. So I literally would go to Lagos on the bridge, Ikeja, those of you that are in Lagos, buy some of these books in PDF, started learning. When you jump into bugs, there's no way to fix. And from there, forayed into project management, then product management. I became a product manager technically around 2012, but I didn't carry the title. I didn't even know I was doing product management. But I was doing strategy, I was doing market analysis, I was doing product design, I was doing UI UX. But I did not know all I was doing was building the foundation to be a product manager. Then from there, enter the strategy side of things, general management side of things, sales side of things, growth side of things. So I've seen a lot around the Nigerian African market. I've been very lucky and privileged to have forged a lot of partnerships. I've had P&L responsibilities. I've had structured project management responsibilities. I've managed a lot of great PMs who are out there doing a lot of good work in Europe, in America, Canada. And those of us who still believe in Nigeria are still here hoping that we can convince a lot of smarter people to come back into the country. So what that experience did for me was to show me what our job is about. And I like what Christian said. I took some notes while he was speaking. He said, my product became the people. And after about 7 years into active product management, it became clear to me that everything we do is about people. Every other thing is grammar. Whether you're a developer, you're a tester, you're a product marketer, you're a strategy guy, you're forging partnerships, you're consuming an API, whatever you're doing, literally is around people. So I committed my life to sort of cracking the nuts of understanding people, and not from different models that we're used to. I needed to do it in a way that was simple. And the goal for me was to be able to drive, profound productivity for my team. And it took me about 3 years. I consumed a lot of books. I will maybe mention a few of them. I read Winning from Jack Welch. I read the Strategy Beyond Hockey Stick. I read Your Strategy Is a Strategy. I read Straight from the Gut. I read a lot of books, I read 0 to 1, a couple of books. And from there, I found out that, the business of people is not as difficult as a lot of us think. And one of the things that model showed me is that naturally, people are not generally very productive. It is the pressures of life or things that we want to achieve that makes us want to do things. So generally, most people, we want to sort of relax, and just end basically, especially if you're not in Africa or in Nigeria, where you can just have access to, so I say, social benefits of life. But why do people try to produce? And why is it that some people don't like to do things while other people try to do things? So I started building a model, and I stumbled on this very simple model and that I built. And I've tested the model for about 3.5 years, and it has worked perfectly. I've got a few testimonies. I've worked with people where they were on what we call performance improvement plan. And 3 months down the line, one of them won an award in a 265 plus, people company. It's about the most innovative person. I've seen a lot of people come out from their shell of, I can't get this done. I cannot produce. I can't get this out of my developers. I can't get my team to do this, from being incredible people. So my goal here is to share some of these lessons. I've got a small template here. I think that if you apply them with a lot of what you've learned, a lot of what you know, a lot of what you do every day, I think that you can start to get the best out of your people. And I think that you can also try to get the best out of yourself, especially if you're not really, really very senior. This is the very boring slide. This is just about me. Zainab has done a good job about that. All right. As I said earlier, everything we do, it's about people. Everything we do revolves, around people. Whether we are building, we build with people, we build for people. Every product is built for a consumer. Every product is built for somebody. Nobody just builds a product for the sake of building, else it's not a product. The moment it becomes a product, it means that there's somebody in mind. Whether you're even building an animal care product, at the end of the day, animals won't buy or consume that product. People have to consume that product. Everything you build with people. Even if you decide to do all the coding, the strategy, everything yourself, at some point, you're going to need a minimum one person that's going to come on board with you to ensure that you can achieve your goals. Secondly, we sell to people. We don't sell to lions. We don't sell to animals. We talk to people. We convince people. What that means is we communicate with people. We communicate to people. Our partners, our competitors are people. We hire people. We fire people. We mentor people. Everything we do in this profession of product management, it's about people. And then if you can then understand how best to get the best out of the people that you interact with, then you can then start to achieve exponential results. And it will interest you to say, and I like the answer that Christian gave in his presentation, when somebody asked them, how do you handle failure? Every failed product, whatever it is that made a product fail, sometimes it could be maybe the market is not right. Sometimes maybe poor understanding of customer requirements or user requirements. Sometimes maybe the product is even too advanced than the market. So you maybe you launched before the market is ready. At the bottom of all of these things are people. We all hire from the same industry. For example, if you work for a startup in Lagos, obviously we don't hit the same milestones. Some are up there, hitting the numbers. Others are struggling. Same market, same economy, same Lagos, same internet, same access to Gen Z or whatever we call them, but different outcomes. The difference is the understanding of people. And if you are really going to be successful, really going to be successful in this career, you need to really understand how to deal with people. And as I said earlier, there's a lot of models, but this is a very simple model that I've built, and I think it has been very, very effective. One of the outcomes that I saw, I've driven up to 80% growth in 3 months. I've done 247% growth year on year based on some of these things. I've moved the needle from 21% to 88% in about 3 months across a couple of so many metrics, just by leveraging this very, very, very simple tool. All right, so the first thing is that it's broken into 4 different buckets. The first thing is that most people don't understand their role. So somebody asked a question and said, can we say a good PM is equal to a product analyst, a business analyst, or a product engineer? And that's some kind of idea of what goes through our mind. Most people carry the title business analyst, product manager, whatever it is. Those are the boring side of these things. The most important thing is, what is your role, right? And your job description naturally will tell you what your role is. But most of the time, job descriptions, and due respect to our people and culture or human resources, these are the people that write these things. Most of the time, hiring managers don't write them. So they don't basically describe what your role is. So what then happens, in my experience, is you enter the job, then you find out that you're expected to do so many things. Then you're confused. I think it's getting better now. In my earlier days in PM, when you are hiring for example, you are hiring a business analyst, you expect the business analyst, I mean, there was nothing like Figma then. So you expect the business analyst to be able to use maybe some Adobe tool, maybe Photoshop. The guy should just be everything. And then there is confusion everywhere. So the challenge is that most of us don't understand our role. Your role, and I like to use for those of you who follow football or who like to watch football. For example, the role of a goalkeeper is to prevent the goals from going into the net. Occasionally, the goalkeeper may move forward, and just get the ball into the net. It happens once in a while. Occasionally, the goalkeeper may have what we call an assist. But technically, you don't judge a goalkeeper by his ability to maybe provide an assist. No, his job primarily is to prevent goals from going in. So our job first is to understand, okay, what is my role? And there are a couple of tools. I don't want to go too technical that can help. But some of my favorites are your objectives and key results. For those of you who are familiar with this, this has to be very, very clear. It should define the kind of role you're supposed to perform on the job. And if you're very lucky to have inherited a job description that is well written by somebody, especially that is experienced in that role. For example, if a senior product manager writes a business analyst JD, he could have or she could have itemized what your role is. So that's the first thing. And you must do this with everybody that reports into you. So if you are a senior PM, maybe you manage other PMs, or depending on the organizational structure, maybe you have some power to, maybe the structure makes maybe your head of engineering may report into you, whatever it is, especially if you're a technical PM. You have to sit with everybody, to ensure that they are very, very clear about the role they play. There are cases where you have a business analyst, there are bugs on your software, you are holding your business analyst responsible. Meanwhile, you have your quality assurance engineer there, and you're not, driving the right outcomes. Everybody must be crystal clear. This is not about title. No, it's about the role you play. Your title could be a quality assurance analyst, and maybe all you're doing, or maybe all that's required at that particular time, is for you to do some research into the site reliability, especially if you have those technical, skills. So the next thing is, and in my experience, right, 90-70%, we have an idea of what your role is. But the challenge is most of us as PMs are not adequately equipped to do our job. I've had greater measure of success because, there's a little bit of versatility. I understand internal politics, and my personality is bullish. So I can enter a room and find a way to get my way, either by using data or using whatever human understanding skills. But unfortunately, most PMs that I've interacted with are not adequately equipped to do their job. Most of the time, the right tools are not there. Most of the time, the right resources are not there. And I don't know about where most of you guys work, but in my experience, most PMs don't even have some sort of budget. You're just expected to perform magic. You have to rely on marketing to drive your sales. You have to rely on maybe strategy to be able to provide your support, so what kind of support you need. You have to rely on engineering to do one or two things for you. So you're literally alone. So the challenge is most of us are not equipped to do our job. So if you see that you're not hitting the numbers, you're not doing as you should do, your responsibility, my charge to you is sit with your manager today, try and understand the gaps in achieving your goals and ensure that you are adequately equipped to do your job. And what does that mean? You have the right tools, targeted learning and development. And I say not some random learning and development. Let me crack a joke. Last year, I was in an organization and there was an L&D platform that everybody is supposed to take, a course on how to write fantastic emails. And if you don't take the course, within the required timeline, you are going to be queried. So I did that thing 99.9%, but there was something I needed to upload. I didn't see it. And so I got a query that I did not participate in the training. So I asked, we're in a meeting, I mean, with fellow execs, and I asked my boss, CEO, I said, "Okay, are you going to fire me because I didn't take an email course?" I mean, you're not going to fire me, really, because I can write an email. I don't have email writing problem. Everybody knows that. So those are some of the challenges that we face. There are times that there are courses assigned to you, but really, they are good courses, but that's not what you need. And the problem is because even those of us PMs are not involved, should I say, in understanding how organizations work to be able to drive the kind of learning and development that we need and for our teams. So about 2016 or so, I took a course, around managing people remotely. It was a very expensive course. There was nothing like remote work then. I mean, not as we know it, managing diverse teams or something like that. But it taught me a lot about how do you manage people remotely. So these were things that I started investing in earlier. So when remote work came, of course, I had my own frustrations with it. I don't understand why I have to say, "Hey, can you hear me 5 times before somebody will hear me?" I don't like that. I'm talking to you. I don't kind of see your face. I don't know what you're doing. But because I was mentally equipped, I'd done some training before then. I was equipped for this kind of opportunities. So what that means is that that intentionality around targeted learning, is extremely important. It's not fair on you if you're in a role, you're expected to perform magic, and you've not been trained about how to be a magician or how to do abacadabra. It doesn't make sense. So instead of you trying to seek for external helps, mentorship, and they can help, my own recommendation is sit with your boss, be extremely clear about what you need to do your job. So the third one is result. This is where most people fail, And I'll show an example. I was once in an organization and we were having a sales call. I was leading the team, and a very senior sales manager came and said, "Oh, this week we did ABC, blah, 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 and all of that." And I said, "How much are we expecting?" So the guy said, "Well, it's not I just joined the organization there. It's not in our culture to declare how much we're expecting." And then I said, "What are you doing? If you're a salesperson, your job is to sell. Your job is not to write proposal. Technically, you can even sell without writing proposal. I've closed this on WhatsApp chats. I don't need to. The essence of proposal is to say my product can do ABC and all of that." So a lot of us don't understand results. No, we think activities are results. And I also want to share here that maybe I can just attempt to answer one of the questions around how do you manage failure. For me, I don't believe that there's a total failure in PM. And my reason is that there's always something of value to salvage. Experience have taught me that what we call failed products fail for a lot of reasons. Maybe the market is not ripe and all of that. So the way I enjoy failure is I enjoy the process. I look at what I have become. So if I launch a product that fails, for example, and I've launched a few, so I don't wallow in the pain of, oh, this product failed. No, I looked at, okay, who did I meet as I was trying to launch this product? What did I learn? So when you focus on results, I'm not saying be so result-oriented as a PM, as a leader, as a team member, that you then lack empathy. You then lack some of the basic people skills that is required. No. But be crystal clear about what results means. If, for example, if you're a product marketer, total active users, what does that mean? Be very, very crystal clear. And if you're very familiar with OKRs, it can really, really help. One of the ways that I also do this is prompt feedbacks. I encourage a lot of informal one-on-one. I don't need to wait till everything has, gone down before I start to hear what's going bad. There must be super clarity on outcomes. It must be very, very clear, and it must be measurable. Whatever you cannot measure, in my opinion, anything can be A is equal to B. Anything can be coded in mathematical function. So it is extremely important that this is extremely clear. And this is where I think a lot of us struggle. And, when the issue of remote work started, most of my colleagues that are senior on my level had a lot of problem with not seeing people. And my argument is, why do you want to see the guy? The guy has his deliverable. Once he delivers, that's what matters. So people think that, when you come to the work, to work, 9 a.m., I can see your face, 6 p.m., you go back home. No, that's activity. Right? I encourage, and I will encourage everybody here to spend a lot of time, especially this previous slide where I spoke about being equipped to do your job and clear understanding of result. It is extremely clear. Right. I've never really had in my appraisal, years of appraisals with and all my career I've reported to a CEO. So I've been that lucky from an internship to now. So I was wired early to know how business owners think, So maybe that's what taught me, to be result oriented. So I don't waste a lot of time doing appraisals. We don't argue, we don't disagree. Everything is clear from the onset. So having clear objectives and key results helps you define what your results, are. And finally, this is where it then gets interesting. So when you then understand what results means to you, it's easy for you to then channel your energy to what you do every day to achieve your results. Somebody mentioned daily scrums, what are you doing today and all of that. It's extremely important. I like one-on-ones a lot. I like to connect beyond work to my guys. Psychological safety. It's a phrase that was made popular by Google. There's a website called rework.google.com or so. I'll find out about the website. I hope my URL is correct. I'll share with the organizers. They can share with you. So there's a concept around psychological safety, and it's a measure of the degree to which you can speak up without being held responsible. For example, there is failure in the team. You drop the ball. How psychologically safe are you, within your team? And this is what helps, you to be able to achieve your result every day. So once you understand what your result is, then it's easy for you to understand that, okay, when I'm entering a Scrum session, what are we doing? What are we driving? Everybody is clear, right? When I'm trying to hire, what am I doing? Everybody is clear. When I'm trying to write a user requirement, what does that mean? Everybody is clear. When I'm trying to drive growth, what does growth mean specifically? Everybody is clear. And that helps you to be able to decide what you do every day to sort of achieve your results. For example, let me use sales. If you are a product marketer or you sell products, whatever it is, your job is not to write proposal. Your job is not newsletter. Those are the artifacts that you do that drive the results. No. But then you will not say, okay, I will not write newsletter because that's not my result, because that's what you do every day to achieve your results. There's something in the law of sales called the Titan law of sales or something like that. What that means is for everybody you sell to, for every one person you sell to, you have to sell, you eventually sell your product to. You have to convince 10 people. Meaning that you have to market your product to 10 people and hope that one of them will eventually buy from you. So what does this mean? What it means is that if I have to sell 10 products per day, for example, I have to ensure that I have a pipeline of a minimum 100 people that I speak to per day. And I have to do this very, very effectively. That's if you're in sales. Right. Similarly, if you are a business analyst and you are writing a user requirement, or maybe a product analyst, you are writing some sort of maybe NPS or whatever it is, you need to understand that what you do every day is what builds up to your results. Then let me then bring it back. This is what helps me to sort of enjoy the journey. This is why I don't really get frustrated when my products fail. Then I have a strong background. I had a stronger background in project management. And one of the things that PM taught us, project management, was that don't be too emotionally invested in what you do. That's why Elon Musk can keep going as those rockets, were not landing. Because it's about the process. If you don't enjoy the process, you will not enjoy the results. So even if the result does not give you the kind of outcome that you want, but because you enjoy the process, it's easy. For example, I'm a developer and I was fired, for example. Example, I was fired because I didn't probably deliver. But if I'm to enjoy that process, one of the things I remember is, okay, maybe when I started, I could not use maybe any version control tool. But now I can now use it. And when I started coding, we used what we call TFS, Team Foundation Server. I don't know how many of you can remember. But now you use things like Git, Bitbucket and the likes, something like CI/CD. So if I get a job now as a developer and they fire me for not performing, provided I can now use CI/CD, at least I'm better off. So those are some of the things that I've sort of used in my own experience. And finally, it's a very simple table. This is what it looks like. You do this for yourself. Rate it on a scale of 1 to 5. If you're very analytical, you can score it. If you can weight it, you can score it. If you don't score up to 60%, 70% here, you're wasting your time. So you're not going to achieve anything. So what you do, and this can also, let me also sound another warning. It can also make your boss uneasy. Because technically, if I come to you and say, okay, I need this to be able to deliver this. The conversation is now clearer. And if the resources you're asking for are not available within the powers of your boss or your organization, they cannot provide it, then it's difficult to hold you accountable. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So if you put all of this together, right, you score it on a scale of 1 to 5, you do it for every member of your team. So this is what I normally do when I inherit a new team. It's the first thing I do. I will sit with everybody. I don't delegate this. I will teach everybody this concept, and I will sit with everybody, prepare an Excel spreadsheet. Everybody will put in some of their gaps. What is it that they need? What is it that I need to do? What does result mean? I will communicate it clearly, right? So that everybody is clear. And I will then help you to say, okay, this is what I expect you to do every day. All right, let me wrap up with a story to just finalize what result means. So I was driving collections for an organization I once worked for. So there was this customer that was not paying. And as you know, sales end at when customers pay. So I was talking to my sales manager, and the guy says, every day I go there, I cannot reach the man, or the man is not picking my phone. I said, okay, no problem. Tomorrow morning, because your goal is not to visit the customer. Those are activities. That's what you do every day to achieve your result. But if you're not clear about what you do every day to achieve your result, you cannot achieve the result. So I said, okay, no problem. When you get to the customer's house, estate, the guy said, oh, they will not let me. I say, no problem. Take a selfie at the gate of the customer. If you need the company to provide a vehicle for you, let me know. That is my own job of doing number 2, ensuring that you are adequately equipped. That's my job. My job is to remove the roadblock. Your own job is to do what you need to do every day to achieve your result. And the guy said, okay. So he woke up, long story short, he was able to contact the customer, and the customer paid. So those of us that are senior here, those of us that manage, maybe younger PMs, please, our job is basically number 2 and 4. Our responsibility is to ensure that we help people that are reporting to us, equip them to do their job. Sometimes it could be training. Sometimes it could be some sort of advice. Imagine that you report into Christian, for example, a lot of experience. So there are things that you are trying to do. Experience would have taught you, don't go and waste your time. Do it this way and all of that, right? And then the final thing is, as you manage people, what you do every day is also extremely important. So you have to help them ensure that they are focusing on what is key. And as I wrap up, one of my friends told me something. I don't know who said that. I think it was Zainab that said one of the things she wished she had learned was embrace feedback. And my friend told me, specifically 2019, December or so, he says, Sinmi, feedback is a gift. Anybody that gives you a feedback is blessing you. And it's not everybody that gives gifts. So I will wrap up by saying, gentlemen and ladies, embrace feedback. Feedback is a gift. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Zainab.
Thank you, Simi. You were just shattering tables up and down. Thank you very much. Okay, so I have a couple of questions, but I will take the first question from the audience. Shola says, for non-technical managers transitioning into product management, what advice do you have?
For non-technical managers, so I think product management, to me, is about listening. I know very great PMs that don't understand APIs. I think the first thing you need to do is to build a lot of skills around listening. And listening, in my opinion, is arguably one of the toughest skills that you can build. It's not easy to listen. So you need to understand how people communicate, especially how they communicate requirements to you, right? That's number one. And as I explained, because you're going to interact with a lot of people. So the other thing that I will advise is invest a lot of time. Yes, you are not technical, but you don't also want to enter a room and they are talking about commit. You don't know what it means. They are talking about throughput. You don't know what it means. You were not saying code, write code, but the guy says, oh, it's not working on my local. You're asking what's local. Is it local government? You don't want to, be that unaware. So even if you're not technical, right, try and understand some sort of nomenclature. Another example is, okay, you're a non-technical PM, you're doing a product demo, and you had planned that your architect or your head of engineering will be in the demo. Unfortunately, his phone was stolen 2 hours to the demo. He could not answer any of the technical questions. Then you are left alone. So you have to build non-technical capabilities around nomenclature. For example, I'm not a finance guy, but I know I have to sell. I have to do business cases. So I have to invest some sort of time in understanding finance. I don't want to be a CFA. I don't want to be a finance, specialist. But you're talking a bit that I can hold my ground. You're talking about finance. So that's my own advice.
Okay, cool. So I have my own questions as well. So one of the things you said was sit with your manager and get clarity about what your role is, defining what are you guys trying to build, right? But sometimes your manager doesn't even have clarity because a lot of, I think the tech startups in Lagos, we know what we want to do, but that clarity is not there. When your manager doesn't have that clarity and you are confused on this journey, what would you advise that you do in that instance?
So this is a very, very, very tough question, right? So in 2015, I'll share specific examples. We're trying to build a product, and what the product was supposed to achieve was you drive into a filling station, or fuel station or a service station, and you want to buy fuel. You just pick the pump, you buy fuel, you drop the pump, you drive away. It was a crazy project. But none of us, including my manager, had done it before. In fact, my manager at the time, the CEO of the company, had to fly to Jordan and Israel to go and see how it's done. But that's grammar. There are peculiar challenges to Nigeria.
Yes.
For example, we laid cable on one of the filling stations, RJ45, Ethernet cable, Ethernet cables. We came back the next day, rats are eating half of the cables.
God.
So those are things that you will not see in Jordan. So, but what did we do? I was emotionally attached to that project, or product. I was so emotionally attached, we're collaborating with one of the biggest, arguably the biggest, oil marketing, downstream oil and gas player. So it's okay if your manager does not know. And that's the beauty of Agile. Agile is that you have to, only recently I saw the first iteration of Twitter. I saw it on Twitter. The first, when Twitter was launched in 2006. You think that they knew that there would be spaces? Or you think that they knew there would be all of these things? No, they don't. You think that Piggyverse knew they would be partnering with Abeg? Nobody knows these things. So you have to enjoy the journey. But at least within that framework of that simple bucket of what you're doing today, there must be some clarity. You may not know what will happen in December. You may not know what will happen in January. And if you're in fintech or a heavily regulated industry, you are just a regulation away from your entire roadmap crashing. You can build a solid roadmap today, and CBN will release something, and overnight, you are sleeping. You don't have anything to build again. So that understanding of the process and just taking it gradually can help. That's my approach.
Cool, cool, cool. Thanks. We have a question from Oluwakemi. How do you manage stakeholders leadership? How do you manage stakeholders' expectation, especially when the goalpost keeps shifting?
So how do you manage stakeholder leadership expectation, especially when it goes keep shifting? Okay. I pardon me, guys, if I don't do justice to this. So I've been in leadership now for about 6 years. So I'm the one that people manage. So, but one of the best ways is communication. Communication is a great tool. So everybody agrees that goalposts will shift. People agree that people are people. And you have to work with people the way people are. That's the truth. So, but when you communicate to your leadership proactively, and I'm saying understand how your leaders or your management like to be spoken to or like to be communicated to. For example, I used to have a boss whose best approach is WhatsApp messages. So when you send him an email, you have to copy the email and say, boss, see, and we didn't have a problem. We're about 4 reporting to him, but the guy is an ED of the company, so he's busy. So everybody is complaining. Me, I didn't have a problem. So I understand that that's what he likes, and we never really had surprises. So before I enter a meeting, even when we miss, the goalpost, I get some empathy because he already knows 2 days before. So it's not a surprise again. That's number one. Then 2, there's something called substitution strategy. So what that means is you're doing something, you're going to miss the goalpost. You don't just say, oh, sir, we are going to miss it. No, because of ABC. No, you say we are going to miss this deadline because of ABC, but this is what I am doing differently, or this is what we are doing to ensure that we don't miss it. So those are some of my own strategies. But I've never really seen anybody that is great at communication, right? That does not get empathy when things break.
So I'm looking at Kemi's question in another line, right? So it seems what I think she's saying is, so the business has already agreed that we're going to build XYZ for this particular purpose. And then we already started building, we put effort into it. And then 2 months down the line, of course, the highest paid person is like, oh, we don't want to build XYZ for this particular segment anymore. We're now thinking of building for someone else. So it's like you're shifting the goalposts of what the focus of that product should actually be. I think that's how I see that question. And just to maybe try to answer it a bit. So Kemi, this will always happen, right? Even user patterns will change from when we actually discover the process or when we discover what the problem is. So say today, I don't want to take a 10-kilometer walk because okay, there's a lot of water in Lagos. But in another, let's say 2 weeks, it will stop raining and that water won't be there anymore. So that solution that someone was trying to build for me to go through that water wouldn't be relevant anymore. So the goalpost may keep shifting. If that is the question you're asking, it may keep shifting. How do we then adapt to it when it shifts? How do we ensure that we're still trying to solve or we're still trying to provide a solution that would help whoever our end user is, regardless of what the goal was before or where the goal is taking us to now?
All right, let me just drop a joke. So 2015, one of the products I was building was a payment platform, card payment, fleet management, and all of that. So we contracted it to a particular company. So the project manager and their lead developer in that particular company got scholarship abroad and they went for masters. So I'm supposed to provide updates. So I couldn't. I didn't see that coming. So I entered the room. My manager said, well, I should have factored that into my risk management. And I said, Oga, how now? Should I go and hire because help me? I was like, help me. So what am I supposed to do? Right. But I think at some point, in the context of goalpost shifting, you have to understand why the goalpost keeps shifting. Sometimes it could be incompetence on maybe some of any member of the product team. And you have to bring it forward to say, okay, this is why it's shifting. Sometimes is what I call perpetual loop of over-analysis and building without launching. Perfection, being a perfectionist can also be the reasons why maybe you're not launching on time and all of that. So you want to understand why it is shifting, and you want to ensure that you put a break around that.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. I'll just bring Kristen back in. Hi, Kristen. So that I want both of you to answer this next question. Kristen, are you there? Yes. I'm muted. We can hear you.
I am.
Okay,
Yes,
cool.
I am.
Thank you for holding on. So the next question is for Nifemi. It says, how easy is it to not be emotionally vested in your product? While some would see that as you not being a good PM, what does this look like in practice? Mm.
Maybe Christian should go.
Sure. I mean, practically, it is almost impossible to not be emotionally invested in any product. I mean, it doesn't take long to fall in love with any human if we spend time with them. So, least of all, something that you put your sweat and your blood, you wake up morning to evening to do it. Old Facebook, they used to have don't fall in love part of their culture, because it's very easy for people to do so. And when you do so, you have some confirmation bias. You stop believing there's anything better. And so the way that they do it culturally, I mean, the best companies do it is they value iteration a whole lot, right? If it takes you more than 2 weeks to work on a prototype, you've already fallen in love, right? So they want to see things change rapidly and quickly. And the way you do that is constant validation and testing with customers. Remember, you're not solving a problem for yourself. You're doing it for other people. And what you want to do is you want to test that. You want to test usability, viability. You want to test it with your stakeholders because it has to work for them too as well. So I'm always challenging my teams when I work with them. Like if they bring me something today and they say, "Oh, we love it. It's ready. Everybody loves it." I will tell them, "Let's make it green." And I say, "Why?" I say, "I don't know. Let's just do something different and put it in front of customers again." And what I'm doing there is I'm telling you, like, it's very easy for us to fall in love with things just because we spend time with it. So what you do is you maximize the number of things you can do by minimizing the amount of time it takes you to do it. So, in practice, as a product team, you've got to try many things. And it allows you not to fall in love. The way they talk about don't fall in love is because, love is blind in that kind of way. Love is emotional. Love is, and so the idea here is that the way to avoid falling in love in the work of product is, I always say, have many girlfriends.
Whoa.
No, but you get the understanding.
I didn't hear that.
You see, the idea is like you've got to have very many. You have to try very many things. You can't just, because that's the whole goal. To solve a problem well. We have to try many things, and so you want to try very many things in front of customers to get the best solution. It's not just a solution. We want the best solution.
Okay, Sinmi, what's your take on it?
Yeah, so I don't think I have so much to add, really. I mean, but I don't know about the many girlfriends. But like I said, it's about, feeling quite fast, because once you are emotionally invested in this, too emotionally invested in these things, you won't be able to welcome any alternate view and all of that. And the market is the best feedback system, really.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I have my own personal question. I'm sorry for being selfish since people don't want to send their questions. You're shy. So there was something you said on that table that you had that how am I adequately equipped? So how do I sort of get myself? So let's say I'm 3 years in product. I've joined a team midway where they already have the designs. Everything is being done. I'm just pushing execution. So I've done that within my first year. Second year as well, I was involved in the discovery stage. I like that, but then I was plucked out and I was moved to another project. And then I'm now on my third year being a PM, and I'm trying to sort of like measure my own type of productivity. What have I done so far? How can I get better? So how do I know if I'm adequately equipped to, move up the ladder? What's the next step for me? How do I answer that question based on these few things that I've been able to do? How am I able to sort of like justify that maybe I'm a great PM or just good, or do I have some skills gap that I need to fill before moving on to the next level?
So you were breaking up all the time, but I think what you're saying is that how do you know if you are a good PM and you're adequately equipped to move to the next level?
Yes.
Is that the question? So,
Yes,
so I think for me, the way I measure a great PM is basically on two major levers. Number one, your ability to drive results, understanding people, your different stakeholders, internal or external. That's number one. Number two, the feedback that you get from the market. So one of the products I really like is PiggyVest. I don't know who the PM is. Right. I don't even know if the PM is doing a great job. Maybe it's just a title. But that product works. I mean, it just works. So I know that whoever is in charge of product managing that product, and they tend to release what the market needs in time. So one of the best ways, because your question is in the context of moving to the next level, right? So my own approach is to have a very good mentor. Sometimes your mentor can see what you cannot see. I once had a mentor that told me 7 months before I left a job. He just called me out of the blue. He said, "Sinmi, your time is up."
Whoa.
I said, "Sir," he said, "Sinmi, your time is up. You are
That's
here to
what
pick this these days, and you have picked it. It's time." I was having fun. I was having the fun of my life, So sometimes submitting to a more senior authority can help. And it can also help, this product management career, can pivot into a lot of things. So, but your mentor may have the ability to see through you. Again, he's not emotionally vested like you. He can see what you cannot see, or what you are seeing that you're not seeing. So I think that's how best I can answer that question.
Sure. Before I let Christian give his take, should we reach out to you for mentorship? We want to know.
But I charge initially I used to charge Bitcoin, but the thing has crashed. So maybe maybe Christian can advise on what I should. But most person, I'm available. Please do that. And I have a mentoring class. I have about 6 people, different people. Yeah. So I'm always available. Anytime. Please reach out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I love that. Please, for all of you local, please use Sinmi and leverage it. It's the biggest gift that you can get.
Are you traveling out or are you going to mass?
He's great. He's great. And look, I do more than a mentor. I always say coaching. And I use the name coaching more than and because doing your job is your job. Getting better at your job is your coach's job. In some ways that question is like, when do you know it's time for you to get out of play? It's time for you to move on. When you know you're ready for the air league, pick any sport. Well, in some ways, your coach, people that are observing you from the outside, can see your performance and tell you when you're ready. We are false evaluators of that skill in that way. Our job is to do the job. Getting better at the job is our manager or our coach's job. A good product manager, is competent in knowing the customer, the business, the data, the industry, delivering results, in working with a team to solve problems. There are different competencies based on your level. If I am a senior product manager, I'm expected to do certain things more than other people. Maybe presenting up to the CEO, having more executive presence, those kind of things. You're not promoted to go learn the job, which is often a big fan. You're promoted to do the job. So if you want to get to the next level, somebody has to coach you to prepare you for the next level, so that when they promote you to that level, you can do the job. Unfortunately, many people learn the job when they are meant to be doing the job. I'm now what do I do? I've never managed somebody before. I'm learning when I'm meant to be doing. And then I pick up bad habits and things in there. So truly, if you want to work with a coach or a manager and say, look, how do we get better? What is needed to be at the next level? And then start to build a muscle for the next level, so that you can be equipped to do it. That has to be called. Good.
Yeah. And if I can add, I remembered my first managerial experience. I went home as a regular technical guy, and I resumed on Monday. I don't think there was internet banking like this. And my boss entered my office with an envelope, shook my hand. "Hi, Sinmi, you are now a manager." I'm like, the first thing was I was fighting everybody there, people that were technically better, just to, because you are not coached in these things. Right?
That's right.
You're not trained. You just woke up and you're a manager. You're struggling. You are praised on that level, So I think that Christian already answered the question.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're wrapping up now. So moving on to the next question is, how have you handled on the job frustration? Frustrations can be limited resources, poor velocity, or the hippo.
So, skipping, how can we handle job frustrations, can be limited resources, poor velocity, and all that. So one of the things I really do well is to use data to tell a story. And I'll share a specific example, right? In February, I was trying to hire, to expand my network of support guys. Use data to tell the story, validated from data standpoint, did about 1.5 hours presentation, to fellow execs. Unfortunately, I didn't get the approval for budget constraints, right? And it was frustrating for me. But what I did was, within the result I expected, I already managed expectation. You're asking for a Rolls Royce, you're not going to get a Rolls Royce because you are providing a Toyota resource. So everybody was clear. So, and it was for me, so there was no emotion. So June, July, results were not a Rolls Royce, but I had communicated a Toyota. And I had a Toyota resource. So everybody was crystal clear. So that's one of the things that I do. But in my younger careers, when I was younger, sometimes I can get angry. I've walked out of I'm brutally honest here. I walked out of a product team because the company was flexible enough to give me another one. I'm not interested. I'm not serious people. So maybe I was lucky. Those were the kind of things that shaped me. But today, so one of the things I do very well is I present a case. Then I also have empathy on behalf, because resources are finite. Nobody has unlimited resource. So if the resources to drive the outcome that I want is not available, then we have to agree on a new outcome based on the resource that is available. And that's how I handle it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's to quickly add to that point, and I love the response here. Remember, there's no job that you don't have frustration. I mean, there's no play, there's no team sport where you don't have frustration. I mean, if you're playing an individual sport, you can blame yourself. I didn't, but there's no team sport in the world that nobody says, I wish Messi won my team. I wish we scored more goals. There's always something in here. Remember, the core of what you're doing is serving somebody else. And so what I typically tell people to do is, if you put the customer, the empathy you have at the center of what you're doing, you rear-end people, you manage your frustration. Our job is with constraints. That's why it's a hard job. If we had unlimited money every time in the world, everybody would be happy to do this job. The job is, how can you solve this problem with the constraints you have? No money, no people, no problem. With the environment you have, those are the constraints. That's the job, to solve the problem with the frustration. If you put it another way. So the people that win are the ones that somehow solve the problem with the frustration. So what you have to tell your team is, how we will make a difference. If you think about the customer, our job is to help them. How do we solve that problem with all of this frustration? That's the magic of product management.
Thanks. I agree with both of you, because there's frustration everywhere. Resources will always be limited. There will always be poor velocity. You've explained something to someone a million times, and then they are still DMing you to say, Zainab, how am I? So it's how you manage it, and how you, like Christian just said, how you do what you have and make the best outcome. Final question from Binga. It says, in planning a product, aside from the vision and goal, what is the next most important thing to look out for?
So for me, I even think before the vision and the goal, except you are building a visionary product, maybe you are building something that's never been built. At least I don't think there's anything visionary left to be built. You have to build on existing, the first thing I look out for is the market. I need to first understand the market very well. And then the second thing is the kind of regulatory frameworks that exist in the market. If you are into fintech, the kind of challenges you face is not the same as somebody in ed tech or somebody that is building a CRM. So I think for me, it's the market first. I look at the market, what's the market telling me? And beyond the total addressable market, things like the number of people that have that problem I'm trying to solve and all of that. Critically, I look at the regulatory framework, because that defines to a large extent the health of my product and probably the longevity of my product. Then once I define that, then I can then come into core planning, product vision and goals and all of that. By the way, I don't like business plan. I think that by the time you are launching the product, the business has already been unplanned. But people do it. I was telling somebody 2 days ago that well, people still do it. But I don't know why you spend months and months writing 36 pages of documents only for you to launch and find out that your hiring plan, you don't even have resource in Nigeria again. So, but that's my own approach.
It's the right mindset. I mean, plans are almost as obsolete the second you're writing them, and they are filled with fallacy, right? You know, how much do we make? How much? Because we don't know. We have to learn. So, I mean, to kind of add to the answer here for this, the most important thing to establish is value. Now, I cannot stress that enough. I need product people to understand this. That is the job. What does value mean? Value means solving a problem in a meaningful way. The way we test for value is that if we build something, people will buy it. If we build something, people will choose it. If we build something, they will use it in that kind of way. That's what our job is. It's kind of the product market fit. That's where we exist. So remember, at the core of your job, the most important thing, many people skip this because somebody told you to do it. Oh, God told me to build it. So it must be valuable. When you do it and nobody buys it, or it doesn't make the company money, or doesn't meet the outcome, everybody's angry. But that's the job. We want to make sure that what we do is valuable. So as a product team, your job is to work together with other parts of your team to establish value. And the vision and goals just tell you what the right problem is. But our job is to solve the problem. Okay, and I'm hoping that people get encouraged by this. Sinmi, what a fun conversation and great insight. I am really encouraged by the level of talent and development of people in Nigeria today and the growing community. And I'm hoping to see more of this as we move along.
Cool. Thank you so much. This is the end. I can see the questions that you have dropped. So what I will do is I will put them on Twitter and tag Sinmi and Kristen, and they'll be able to help. I will just so because we've run out of time and everyone needs to move on with their days. Again, I'm showing you what their Twitter handles are. You can reach out to them. You can also reach out to them on LinkedIn. It's going to be very okay if they don't answer you in time. Please let's understand that they are very busy. If
you have time to build products.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So please drop us comments on Twitter or LinkedIn. You can also send us emails if you want to volunteer, if you want to speak. So yes, thank you everyone. Happy World Product Day. Thank you so much, Christian. Thank you very much, Sinmi. Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Zainab.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, bye, guys.